I'm Bartek, and for the last few days I've been working on implementing a command line interface in the mentorship backend project. It's kind of part of some task for Google Code in 2019 that I'm taking part in. And this new CLI allows developers to easily manipulate test data so they don't have to mess up with Postman and manually log in, then get a JSON web token from the response that login endpoint returned, and then use that token to authenticate future requests to the API. In my opinion, it's really inconvenient, so I decided to improve it. I think it's the other final stage of development, and command won't change much, if at all. Maybe I'll add one or two or improve parameter handling in them, but yeah, that's it. Let's move on to the main topic. So what I'm gonna demonstrate is simple, basic workflow of using the CLI, so you'll get a good grasp of how using it looks like. So what will I do? First of all, I will create two users in the database of the app. Then I will update their data to demonstrate how easy it is to update users' data. Then I will send a mentorship relation request from user 1 to user 2. Then I will accept that relation as user 2. I will add some task to that relation. Then I will mark this task as completed. And then I will remove them. I will remove the mentorship relation and remove users. So we'll make some mess and then we will clean it up. So let's begin. First of all, I'd like to make sure that I'm really working from scratch. So let's see if I have devdata.db file in my directory. We can see it's here, so I will just remove it, rm dev data.db, and now let's create database. So to use all this CLI stuff, we are using Flask command. It's a general utility script for Flask applications. Here we see commands that we have. Here are a few built-in commands, I think, and here are the ones that I've created. We have admin commands. We have commands for admin, for DB management, for relation management, for tasks, and for user management. So I want to create database. So let's just type flask db and see what commands we have. We have three commands: create, drop, and init. I want to create tables. To create new db file, it's the same, whatever. So let's type flask db create. We see that all tables were created. Now I can type flask user show to see users that I have in my database. We see that we don't have any users, so I'll just add. So I'll add first user, flask user, and we see we have 4 commands for user. For user management, we have create command, so let's just use it. Flask user create. It's gonna be the first user, so let's name him. So let's name this user admin. Username is also admin. Some dummy email would be admin@email.com. Password is okay, and we see user was created successfully. Now I can type flask user show to see all users. We see first user admin, the only one we currently have, and we see a lot of data is displayed. So I don't want to see all this bulk of data. I just want to see some basic data like username, email, and that's that kind of stuff. So I can use -- short flag on this command to see nicely formatted output, and even shorter, flask user show -s. That's great. So I have first user. Now I will add the second one, flask user create, and the second user is gonna be me, Bartek Pacha. Username is gonna be Bartek Pacha. Email, it's gonna be my email. If you want, you can email me. I don't care. I'll be happy. Password can be this default one, and we see second user was created successfully. Let's see our users. We see that we have 2 users. So what I would like to do now is to create a mentorship relation between these 2 users. flask relation. And we have again 4 commands for relationship management. So I'd like to send relationship request from Bartek Pacia user to admin user, and then I'd like to accept this request as admin user. So to do this, I need to type flask relation send, and it takes 2 parameters as its arguments, two strings as its arguments. So we see sender ID and recipient ID. Sender ID is ID of the user who sends this relationship request, and the recipient ID is the user who receives this relationship request. I think it's obvious, but whatever. So to send this relationship request, let's type flask relation send to 1. We are sending from Bartek Pacia to admin, but we see mentor user is not available to mentor. Why is that? Let's see mentor user, flask user show dash username mentor. I'm sorry, admin. To see the admin user. Again, I want to see admin user, so I type this to search by username. We see that admin isn't available to mentor. We need to set this to true if we want to create a mentorship relation. So we need to type flask user update. It takes user ID as the parameter. The user ID is 1, so flask user update 1. And we need to update available to mentor to true. So available to mentor equals true. We see that user was updated successfully. So let's execute that command again to create a relationship request. Now we see that Menti user isn't available to be mentored. So we want to update Menti. Menti has ID of 2, so let's just change this to 2 and change this to need mentoring to be true. Again, user was updated successfully. User show all Bartek Pacia. We see he needs mentoring, so he can send mentorship relation requests. Again, now let's try one last time. Flask relation create send to 1. Mentorship relation request was sent successfully. Now I need to accept that request, so I need to type flask relation accept. I see it takes 2 arguments, user ID and request ID. User ID is gonna be 1 because we want to accept it as admin, because admin is mentor in this relation. And the request ID is gonna be 1 because that's the first and only request in the whole database as of now. So flask relation accept 1. Mentorship relation was accepted successfully. That's great. What we are gonna do now is to print that relation and add some task to it. So to see all relation or all mentorship relations, I can type flask relation show. I see we have 1 relation as of now. The next thing I'd like to demonstrate is adding tasks. So to do this, obviously I have to type flask task. Oh, it rhymes well. Flask task. Nice. Whatever. We see 4 commands here. Again, flask, and I want to create a new task. So let's just say flask task create. It takes 3 parameters: user ID, relation ID, and description. So let's say flask task create. User ID, it can be 1 or 2 because we have only these 2 users. So let's say 2. Relation ID, again we have only 1 relation, so it's gonna be 1. And create and description. Description can be whatever string you want. Let's just say task 1. Task was created successfully. Let's create another one task, and let's create another task, task 2, and another task by Christmas presents. Now I'd like to see these tasks, so I can type flask task show. It takes two arguments, user ID and relation ID. So it's gonna be again 2 or 1. Flask task show 2 1. We see our three tasks. We see our task buy Christmas presents. That's nice. That's nice. I have to do this. Okay, so we created tasks. Now let's say I've already bought some Christmas presents for my family, so I want to mark this task with ID of 3 as completed. So I need to type flask task complete. It takes 3 arguments: user ID, relation ID, and task ID. So flask task complete. User ID is Bartek Pacia, it's me, so he has ID of 2. Relation ID is 1, and task ID is 3, this one. Task was achieved successfully. Let's print our tasks once again. We see our task buy Christmas presents is now done. Previously it wasn't done. It had is done set to false. Okay, now I want to remove these tasks. To do this, I type flask task remove, or flask task delete. It takes again 3 arguments, so flask task delete 2 1, and let's say I want to delete this third task. It says it was deleted successfully, or was it? Let's see. Yes, everything works fine. Now let's delete all these tasks. We see there are no tasks in this relation. Now let's just cancel this relation. Flask relation. We see this cancel command. Flask relation cancel. It takes 2 arguments, user ID and relation ID. Flask relation cancel 2 1. Mentorship relation was cancelled successfully. And I think we are coming to the end of this short demo. Remove users. Okay, so now I'm gonna delete our users. Flask user show. I'm gonna remove myself. I don't want to use this app anymore. Just joking. Not funny, I know. Flask user delete. Okay. No parameters passed. Flask user delete. I don't remember the syntax I've created, so let's see it. Okay. -u flag seems to be the most useful in this case. Flask user delete and -- username Bartek Pacia. User was successfully deleted. Let's see. We can see that now we have only 1 user. So that would be it. And oh, there's one more thing I'd like to show. Let's say you have empty database and you don't want to start from scratch. You want to start with some initial set of data that you can build upon to add more users, to add some relations. You just want to debug and you don't want to manually create all the users. So for this you can use db command init. It's here. I will demonstrate how it works. Flask db init. It is saying that all tables will be dropped, so essentially we'll lose all data we have in our database. Yes, we want to continue. And we see a lot of output, but basically what it did is it created users, and it told us that database was populated with initial data. Let's see our users. User show as. We see 3 users. This can be adjusted in Python code in this file. It's loaded from this file. But you can check out the code, you can check out the docs. I mean, that's it for this tutorial. I hope you liked it. I'm sorry for my English pronunciation. It's half past midnight, so I'm really tired, but I really wanted to record this tutorial so you can see how this CLI works. I think it's very nice, and I really hope it will get merged to the main branch of this project. See you.